But listen, today, the rematch, the press conference, and we've had a couple of other fights announced as well. But let's just touch on this rematch for a minute.
It's a good fight. I think it was the fight kind of everyone expected at some point. I know Okolie was in the mix for a while, and obviously there was the rematch and stuff like that, but this is the rematch. In fact, CBS has got a rematch with everyone on the cards. It's his only loss, CBS. I was there. It could have gone either way. I did think Richard edged it just based off his rawness and his power. He still has the power, maybe not so much of the rawness. CBS has come on leaps and bounds, so has Richard. And now we get it again. CBS lost that fight, went on to win a world title before Richard, which is quite crazy when you consider maybe some of the positions Richard was in with a couple of the governing bodies. But the opportunity presented itself. CBS did it in a stadium, Vitality, and this time it's an away day for him. It's at Selhurst Park, 100 years. Crystal Palace working with us to put this together. And it's ambitious. This is an ambitious one, you know, because I'm not sure on the total capacity of Selhurst Park, but put it this way, it's bigger than the Vitality. And it's a big stadium to fill. I still think we fill it, you know. I think we're going to end up getting a sold-out event like we did in the Vitality. I just think it's going to be a massive night. The Euros will be on. Hopefully we get some good weather. It's the summer, stadium fight, London. What's not to love, you know? There's a lot being made about kind of, not necessarily boxing dying, but like maybe on a bit of a slide. Not from where I'm standing. I think it's as competitive and as popular as ever. And I think this stadium fight will prove it.
Talk to me about the mathematics of boxing. We started off there that they were on an even keel. Richard edged the last fight, split decision win. They both disappeared, went their own ways. Richard kind of sat out his contract. Chris Billam-Smith stayed with Matchroom. Chris Billam-Smith ends up coming over to Boxer. Obviously, Richard Riakporhe was there first. He ends up taking the belt off Lawrence Okolie, who comes over as a world champion. And now them two are back on an even keel. It's the mathematics of boxing. It never adds up.
No, you can't do maths on boxing. It's like there is no maths. It doesn't make any sense. We've seen it so many times. We saw Mark Jeffers beat Zach Chelly, and then Zach Chelly go on to get another good win. It doesn't always work out how you think it does, where the person who wins automatically is in a better position. I've so many times where the loser is often in a better position sometimes, and it's about what fights you can get made at what times. Loads of it is just to do with dates, you know. There's some fighters might not be ready June 15th, and others might need it to be end of June or July, and it's something like that will provide someone who did not expect to get an opportunity for a world title. But this one we did expect. Rich will feel like maybe he doesn't have to change that much and do that much. I think he feels like CBS is tailor-made for him. But CBS is the one fighter that has been able to kind of stand up to his power. And that's going to be interesting because although, yes, CBS is easier to find than maybe some other fighters, it doesn't matter. When you find him, you don't always get the result you wish for. Not even Richard, you know, he tagged him a lot of times at the O2 in that first fight and he didn't seem to go anywhere. So it's another interesting fight. Will be the biggest fight of Richard Riakporhe's career, 100%. I'm not sure what I would have as his biggest night thus far in terms of crowd moment. Will he win it? It might actually be the CBS, maybe the Dion Juma, in terms of like a big crowd and you know, just, yeah. So there will be maybe a question over, you know, how will Richard deal with the occasion of it being, you know, he's the home fighter here. It's at his home ground. Is there added pressure? But it's a good fight, man. It's an interesting fight. And then let's just get this one out of the way, and hopefully we've got some other good announcement. Obviously, just in the last 20 minutes, we've announced a couple of the fights on the undercard. So we're hoping to really stack this and make this as big of a card, as good of a card as what we did last time out with Fraser Clark and Fabio Wardley.
What I will say is that you need to get on camera more, because just in these past few minutes, you've literally sold me that fight more than I was sold on it in the first place. You mentioned something there, Savage, about boxing. Like, there was a time when it looked like boxing was a little bit on the slide. It seemed to have got all stagnant. And sorry to speak about opposition on your platform, but I've got to say, since obviously the Saudi has been involved, now we've got obviously Queensbury working with Saudi, Matchroom working with Saudi, and now we've got Queensbury and Matchroom working with Saudi. We're getting fights. The Riyadh season is not just staying in Saudi Arabia, it's travelling around the world. When you talk about like boxing and evolving and developing, as you know, you guys are still particularly young in the game, 3 years in, building your own stable. Are you guys going to start to mix it up with those guys too?
I hope so. A lot of our stable we've actually had from either 0 fights, 1 fight, 2 fights. So we've had to grow. Yes, we've had a couple of names that have been here along the way, and we've had, you know, Liam Smith, and we've had the bigger names, Natasha Jonas. We've had Eubank on our cards, etc., etc. But for the most part, our fighters have come from, let's say, youth. Yeah, they're fresh. So we're now in a position where we can actually start to really have a real look at some of these offers. And there have been offers to work in Saudi, and for whatever reason, they haven't been either best for us or best for the fighter or whatever it is. But I think it has to come now. You mentioned opposition there, but when it's all said and done, all of us want the best for boxing, you know. And it doesn't matter that Fury Usyk's on a Frank Warren card, I will be watching it. And it didn't matter that whatever fight was on a Matchroom card, I will be watching it. You know, everyone wants the best for the sport. Obviously, I won't say it's friendly competition, but it's all for the same thing that we love. I think we all at some points have to work together. And there are times when we don't have to work together, and you can maybe stand your ground and dig your heels in. But there are loads of times where we have to work together, and we will be working together with everyone. We've worked with everyone at some point before. I know there's a lot being made of that, the negatives and some of the purse bid situations, etc., etc. And every time you even mention that word, we get the blame for it. We even get the blame for flipping Isaac Chamberlain's one. He's not even a boxer fighter; he's a Mick Hennessy fighter. But I get what people are doing. It's a shoe fit. Sometimes you have to pull it on, even if it's not your shoe to put on. But look, we want to work with everyone, and if it makes sense for us as well as for them, we'll work with them. But a lot of times, things don't make sense for us, and if it doesn't, it just doesn't make sense. That's it.
And looking at it from a business point of view, I hear that argument. I get it, but I just think the gripe with the public, and I'm one of them, is that with the purse bid situation, don't get me wrong, we've got Tyler Denny, who is going to be at the Matchroom presser tomorrow because they won the purse bids for Tyler Denny. But we're talking about the ones where the pull-out was at the last minute. It's not about pulling out of purse bids. Promoters can pull their fights out on the day as well. There's no rule to say that it's got to be done 2 weeks ahead. But we're just talking about courtesy. We're just talking about having that relationship to say, you know what, this is not the path we want to take. And giving that notice, because then it pulls that heat back off you. Yeah, all right, you might be known as the pull-out kings, but at least it's the pull-out kings 2 weeks before rather than an hour and a half before, no matter who the fighter is managed by.
Yeah, I agree, you know, and I definitely get it. The thing is, sometimes the decision is made last minute, and if the decision is made last minute, unfortunately, it is what it is, and you like to think that things can get done a lot earlier. And hopefully they will be done a lot earlier in times to come. But as you said there are plenty of purse bids that we have allowed to go the full way and lost. And, you know, we're all still, we're behind Tyler Denny, you know, like 100%.
Who's going to be there with him tomorrow then from Boxer as a supporting promoter?
It's a bit far for me. It's a bit far.
I'm not having this. So, yeah, let's go.
I'll go.
Somebody has got to go to represent him. We've saw that, you know, we've seen Frank Smith over when Alicia Baumgardner was over, when she was fighting on your platform. We've seen that. So it would be nice to just show out for the guy. It's not a Brommy bias thing. It's just...
You're right. Maybe I will be there. Yeah.
You can always come to mine for a cup of tea. Ben Whittaker is also on this card. I can see his cronies behind me smiling. He always comes heavy-handed, mob-handed. That's how we roll in Birmingham, right, gentlemen? Okay. Anyway, Ben Whittaker is on this card with what we could say seemed like a bit of a orchestrated event at his last fight. Talk to us about that, because I thought, yeah, here we go. I expected it.
Did you think it was orchestrated?
Yes.
I knew nothing about this.
I know that Johnny Ness, I went through my social media as soon as his name was put up, and I think he's standing close to me. His name was put up, and I thought, hold on, I recognise that name. He's been in my stories all week. And then I said, oh, let's have a look on his profile. And then I saw Johnny Nelson followed him. So I called Johnny Nelson out, and he said, you set that up, didn't you? Obviously, deny, but we're here today.
Well, you know what they say, God loves a trial. And, you know, and you know, like, he will help those who help themselves. And he helped himself by bursting through the door and kind of making a scene. And yeah, maybe it was a bit ridiculous at the time and a little bit far-fetched. And maybe we were looking at other options. But he presented himself and made himself an option and made himself available for June 15th. And now he gets what he wished for, which might not actually be what he wished for. But he will be. I probably do echo what he says in the fact that he will be perhaps the most on it man maybe Whittaker will have faced as a professional. He is a big, strong boy, Nigerian champion. You know he's gonna, and he fancies himself. He fancies his chin and his durability and his ability to kind of walk Whittaker down. I'm not sure how much that determination and that belief is going to help him. It's going to help him maybe a little bit, but I'm not sure if he could deal with the skills of Ben Whittaker. But it's a fight, you know. It's not all about skills. There is plenty more than just skills, and Ben's got more than just skills, obviously, as well. But it's going to be interesting because he's coming to win. Maybe he is the first fighter coming to win that Ben will have faced as a pro.
I think Leon Willings, he came to win as well.
I think Leon came and gave a really good account of himself, but I'm not sure if he came to win. He came, looked good losing, gave a good account, but I don't know, maybe it was the styles. He didn't ever look like he wanted to take the driving seat in that fight. I think this fight might be different. I think Ezra will try and take the driving seat and maybe try and force Ben on the back foot early. And let's see what he's got. He's a big boy, though. You know, he's got nice, big, broad shoulders. Obviously he's undefeated. Doesn't know how to lose yet. Strong boy. You can bet your bottom dollar he can punch. So let's see.
Puncher's chance, but maybe a little bit more. I've got to look behind me and we can see Isaac Chamberlain's here with his crew as well. I'm happy about that fight that he's having with Cieslak. I'm sure both Richard Riakporhe and Lawrence Okoli have fought him. Obviously, Isaac Chamberlain has shared the ring very early on with Lawrence Okoli, and unfortunately he had a little bit of stick because obviously Chevron Clark was waiting, that British title fight. But we're here. We can go over old ground all we like. It's all said and done. He's here. He's going for the European belt against, is it Michel Cieslak?
And that's a tough fight.
Yeah.
That maybe, I know Isaac might be getting a lot of stick from people. I know Eddie was onto him on Twitter and stuff like that about ducking, whether it was Chev or ducking Vidal. For me, this is the fight that is probably the toughest of the three in terms of Cieslak's not a joke. He's not a joke. And he's going for European glory. Obviously, it would have been courteous of Isaac to maybe let people know more than an hour and a half before the purse bid. But he just stood on business, you know. He just stood his ground and said, yeah, what? And this is what it is. And sometimes when people do that, you just got to be like, what? Okay, fine. It is what it is. But it's a good fight. Obviously, we're fortunate to get that on the June 15th card. And he'll be looking at the top of the bill. You know, he'll want to get in there and hopefully, all being well, do a job on Cieslak, which that's a pick and fight. That's a pick and fight. But if he can get through it and use all he's experienced now. That's the thing with Isaac. He is very experienced. He knows how to navigate fights. He's been in with big punches. He's been in with pressure fighters. And he's always given a good count of himself, except for that one occasion way back, which he's obviously learned from. Took some time out, and when people do that, sometimes you do wonder if the fire still burns, but that fire is still burning in him. He'll be back, and hopefully he gets the win and then sits ringside and has a real close look at what happens at top of the bill, because that cruiserweight division, we've been talking about it for a while now, but now we're in that position now where everyone's beginning to fight each other, and obviously at Boxer we're focusing quite heavily on the cruisers, and we're heavy on the British scene. So maybe that's why we haven't seen that many away days abroad, or overseas fighters coming here for top of the bill. So we haven't seen too much of that, but I think now everyone's in position to really start making that happen. So yeah, I obviously I like Isaac, that's my guy as well. I like Vidal, that's my guy as well. But I want to see him do well, and I want to see him beat C-Slack. I think he's got everything he needs to do it, and I think now he's got the experience as well. But it's a tough fight.
It's a positive note to end on. That's what we like. We want to see the guys do well. You've got a lovely stable of British cruiserweights. Keep on building. We all have to go through rocky roads, but like we say at October Red, stay ready.
Guys, comment, like, subscribe. I'll see you next week or next time, whenever it is.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.